I had 30 seconds before the champagne toast, and before the snipers turned his tuxedo red. My hand trembled just enough to smudge the ink as I scribbled across the receipt. The paper felt impossibly fragile, like it might crumble before I could deliver it. Around me, the velvet crown pulsed with the particular frequency of money, crystal singing against porcelain, restrained laughter, the rustle of designer fabric against butter-soft leather. Outside, Chicago's Valentine's blizzard clawed at the windows. But inside, everything was hot, stifling, dangerous. I moved toward table 7 like I was approaching the gallows. Prince Maxwell sat with his back to the bulletproof glass, the snow-blurred skyline framing him like some modern king. He looked untouchable, all clean lines and controlled power. Charcoal Brioni suit worth more than my student loans, white shirt crisp enough to cut glass, a diamond-studded watch that caught the candlelight with every deliberate movement. His fingers drummed that slow, territorial pattern against the tablecloth, the same rhythm I'd memorized 8 years ago when he was just another face in my father's hospital room, quietly paying bills he had no obligation to cover. Across from him, Isabella Reyes leaned forward, her crimson dress bleeding into the shadows. Her hand rested on his, manicured nails like perfect red warnings. She looked like a woman savoring romance. She wasn't. 15 minutes ago, I'd heard her arrange his murder. The coat check at the Velvet Crown wasn't really for coats. It was a wood-paneled alcove near the service entrance, all dark corners and muffled acoustics where servers ducked in to catch their breath. I'd been hanging a guest's fur when I heard her voice drifting through the cracked door, low, sharp, speaking Italian that cut through the background music like a knife. "C. E. al tavolo set. Vicino al vitro." Yes, he's at table 7. By the glass. My Italian was survival level at best, cobbled together from restaurant orders and cooking shows. But I understood fragments. Table 7. The glass. Position. Gli altri sono gia in posizione. Uno al balcone, tre all'uscita cucina. The others are already in position. 1 at the balcony, 3 at the kitchen exit. Then she switched, Russian, maybe? The words moving faster, harder, like she was loading a weapon with her voice. I pressed myself against the wall, my heart hammering so loud I was certain she'd hear it through the wood. When she finally swept past me in a cloud of Chanel and cold intent, I saw her face. Composed, luminous, the face of a woman heading back to her lover. Her executioner, the coat check attendant, an older woman with knowing eyes, slipped a thick envelope into her apron without a word. That's when I knew this wasn't passion. This was business, and Prince Maxwell had 30 seconds before dessert arrived. Before the champagne toast Isabella had planned so carefully. Before they turned his Valentine's dinner into a massacre. I grabbed my order pad and started writing, my handwriting barely legible. Your mistress sold you out. They're in position. Balcony. Kitchen. Don't drink the champagne. I folded the receipt into tight quarters, my pulse roaring in my ears. 28 seconds. The tray felt impossibly heavy as I lifted it, 2 flutes of Laurent Perrier, bubbles rising like tiny warnings. I wove through tables of oblivious diners, their laughter a cruel soundtrack to what was about to unfold. 20 seconds. Isabella's eyes tracked me as I approached, her smile never faltering. She lifted her phone slightly, and somewhere in this restaurant, people were watching. Waiting. 15 seconds. I reached their table, set down Isabella's champagne first. Her fingers brushed mine deliberately, a silent threat, a reminder that waitresses are invisible until they're inconvenient. 10 seconds. Maxwell's dark eyes lifted to mine for the first time in 8 years. Really looked at me, and in that fraction of a second, I saw the boy who'd sat across from my sobbing mother in a hospital waiting room, quietly signing a check that saved my father's life, then disappeared before we could thank him. 5 seconds. I placed his champagne down, slipped the folded receipt beside his plate. Your bill, sir, I whispered. His fingers stopped drumming. Isabella raised her glass, her smile widening. A toast, darling, to us. Maxwell's hand moved toward the receipt. 3 seconds. He unfolded it beneath the table, his expression never changing. 2 seconds. His jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. 1 second. Actually, Isabella, he said, his voice silk and steel, I think we should discuss something first. He looked at me again, and this time, I saw recognition flicker across his face like lightning. Then he smiled, cold, lethal, beautiful. This waitress just saved my life. If you're hooked already, smash that like button and subscribe. This story is about to get dark. Don't miss what happens next. Maxwell's fingers closed around the receipt. For 3 heartbeats, nothing happened. The restaurant continued its elegant symphony, clinking silverware, murmured conversations, Sinatra crooning through hidden speakers. Isabella's champagne flute hovered midair, her smile frozen in perfect position. Then Maxwell's eyes locked onto mine, and I watched 8 years of distance collapse in an instant. Recognition flickered across his face like a match striking in darkness. He knew me, not as the invisible waitress serving his table, but as the 16-year-old girl who'd watched him save her father's life with a signature and a quiet exit. Cynthia Ann Brooks, he said softly, my name a weapon he'd been keeping chambered. Still saving lives, I see. Isabella's smile faltered, just a micro-expression, a barely perceptible tightening around her eyes, but Maxwell caught it. He was built to catch lies. Darling? Isabella's voice dripped honey and confusion. Do you know this waitress? Maxwell stood slowly, the movement predatory and controlled. He lifted his champagne flute, studying the bubbles like they might contain secrets. Actually, my love, I'm curious. Why would someone want me to avoid drinking this? The color drained from Isabella's face. That's when I saw them, the almost imperceptible nods exchanged across the dining room. A man at the bar straightened his jacket. 3 figures near the kitchen exit adjusted their positions. And on the balcony overlooking our section, a server who definitely wasn't on tonight's staff reached inside his vest. Maxwell caught every movement, his jaw set with cold fury. Gin, he said quietly into his watch. 1 word, 1 name. The restaurant exploded. The bulletproof glass behind Maxwell's table suddenly blazed with red laser sights from outside, illuminating Isabella like she was center stage. The lights cut out. Emergency protocols activated. Steel shutters slammed down over windows with mechanical precision. Diners screamed as Maxwell's hidden security team materialized from nowhere. Men in black suits moving with military efficiency, weapons drawn. The fake server on the balcony reached for his gun. He didn't make it. Gin, Maxwell's driver, put him down with 2 shots that echoed like thunder in the suddenly dark restaurant. Maxwell grabbed my wrist, his grip iron. You just started a war, Cynthia. Hope you're ready to finish it. Isabella lunged for the kitchen exit. Maxwell's security blocked her path. She turned back, her beautiful mask finally cracking, revealing something feral and desperate underneath. You were supposed to be dead, she hissed. Maxwell's smile was arctic. Funny, I was thinking the same about you. He pulled me toward the kitchen as gunfire erupted behind us, crystal chandeliers shattering into deadly rain. My invisible life disappeared in the chaos, replaced by something infinitely more dangerous. Survival. The kitchen was chaos incarnate, chefs screaming, pots clanging to tile floors, flames erupting from abandoned stovetops. Maxwell dragged me through the industrial maze like he'd memorized every exit, every blind corner. Behind us, gunfire punctured stainless steel, and someone's dying scream cut through the pandemonium. Keep your head down, Maxwell ordered, shoving me behind a walk-in freezer as bullets sparked off metal surfaces. His hand pressed against my spine, protective and possessive in equal measure. We burst through the service exit into a wall of white. The blizzard hit like frozen razors, instantly soaking my uniform, stealing my breath. Chicago winter didn't care about restaurant massacres or survival, it just consumed everything equally. A black Escalade screeched to a stop 3 feet from us, passenger door already open. Gin sat behind the wheel, his face carved from the same ruthless stone as his boss. Get in. Maxwell threw me into the backseat and dove in after me just as the exit door exploded outward. 3 figures emerged through smoke and snow, weapons raised. Gin floored it. The Escalade fishtail-ed on ice before catching traction, launching us into the blizzard-blind streets. Through the rear window, I watched 3 black SUVs materialize from the storm like hunting wolves. They're coming, I gasped. They're dying, Maxwell corrected. He pulled a Glock from a hidden compartment, checked the magazine with practiced efficiency. Gin, usual protocol. Already on it, boss. The first bullets hit our rear window, spider webbing the bulletproof glass but not penetrating. Yet, Maxwell pushed me down to the floor, covering my body with his. I could feel his heart hammering against my shoulder blade, the only proof he was human and not some untouchable force of nature. Why did you warn me? His voice was low, meant only for me beneath the chaos. You saved my father. I couldn't. The windshield exploded. Jin jerked the wheel hard left, and we went sideways through an intersection, missing a CTA bus by inches. The pursuing SUVs weren't as lucky. One clipped the bus, spinning out into a parked sedan with a sickening crunch of metal and glass. Two left. We careened through downtown, a high-speed chase camouflaged by the worst storm of the season. Pedestrians dove for cover. Taxis slid helplessly. The city became a blur of white and red, snow and brake lights and blood. Another volley of gunfire. This time, rounds punched through the reinforced door, missing my head by centimeters. Maxwell's curse was creative and multilingual. Jin, we need to end this now. 30 seconds, boss. We took a corner so hard I thought we'd flip. Then I saw it, Maxwell Premium Motors, his legitimate front business, its glass showroom glowing like a beacon. Jin didn't slow down. He accelerated directly toward the loading dock doors. Hold on. We crashed through security barriers, through the reinforced bay doors, into a space that shouldn't exist. A vehicle elevator descending into darkness. Above us, the remaining SUVs skidded to confused stops, unable to follow. The elevator dropped us 3 floors underground into a pristine vault lined with luxury vehicles worth millions. Jin killed the engine. Silence pressed in, broken only by our ragged breathing and the ping of cooling metal. Maxwell finally moved off me, his hand finding my face in the dim emergency lighting. You're bleeding. I touched my cheek. My fingers came away red, glass, not bullets. Welcome to my world, Cynthia, Maxwell said quietly. Your invisible life just ended. You understand that? I looked at the bullet holes in the door where my head had been. Looked at the blood on his hands, mine, his, I couldn't tell. Looked at the underground fortress that proved Prince Maxwell's empire went far deeper than anyone knew. I understand, I whispered. His smile was terrible and beautiful. Good. Because now they'll hunt you like they hunt me. And trust me, they never stop hunting. The safe house was exactly what I expected from a man like Maxwell, all concrete and sharp angles, minimalist furniture that cost more than most people's cars, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking a Chicago that had no idea we existed. We were ghosts now, hiding in plain sight 20 floors above the city. I lasted 15 minutes before I shattered. Why? The word ripped out of me, raw and desperate. Why did I do that? I could have walked away, served dessert, gone home to my father. But instead my voice broke. I just ended my entire life for a man I don't even know. Maxwell stood at the window, his reflection fractured in the glass. He'd shed his bullet-torn jacket, rolled up his sleeves, revealing forearms marked with scars and ink, a dragon, Korean characters I couldn't read. You know me, he said quietly. You wouldn't have risked everything for a stranger. I don't. Jin, pull up everything on Cynthia Ann Brooks. Medical histories, financial records, everything. Jin's fingers flew across a laptop. Minutes passed like hours. Then Jin's expression shifted, something almost like surprise crossing his usually stoic face. Boss. August 2017. Northwestern Memorial. Construction accident victim, Daniel Brooks. Critical condition. Medical debt approaching $400,000. You authorized a full payment through the charity foundation. Maxwell turned slowly. Show me. The file appeared on the wall-mounted screen, hospital records, a check signed with Maxwell's distinctive scrawl, a photograph of a broken man in a hospital bed. My father. Younger then, but still my father. You were there, I whispered. In the waiting room. You sat with my mother while I was getting coffee. When I came back, she was crying and you were gone. She said an angel had come. I thought she was delirious from exhaustion. Maxwell stared at the screen like he was seeing a ghost. I don't remember. I signed dozens of those checks every year. Random acts of mercy to balance the ledger of everything else I do. You saved him. You saved us. And tonight you returned the favor. His jaw tightened, something dangerous flickering in his eyes. Isabella's people were 10 seconds from execution. If you hadn't, he stopped, the vulnerability vanishing behind his usual armor. I owe you a debt. No, we're even now. Debts don't work that way in my world, Cynthia. He crossed the room, close enough that I could see the silver scar cutting through his left eyebrow, close enough to be intimidating without touching. You're under my protection now. But protection has a price. What price? Someone inside my organization fed Isabella everything, my schedule, security rotations, safe house locations. Someone close enough to know details only my inner circle should know. His eyes locked onto mine. You spent 8 years invisible, watching people, reading them. You notice things others miss. Help me find the traitor. I'm a waitress, not a detective. You're a survivor who just outsmarted a professional hit squad with a receipt and 30 seconds. His smile was sharp. Don't underestimate yourself. I certainly won't. Outside, sirens wailed in the distance. Somewhere, Isabella was still hunting. Somewhere, a betrayer was still hiding in Maxwell's shadow. Okay, I breathed. I'll help you find them. Good. Maxwell's hand found my shoulder, a gesture that felt both like a promise and a brand. Welcome to the family business, Cynthia. Try not to die. Maxwell spread photographs across the glass table like a dealer showing his hand. 8 faces, his inner circle, the people who knew his movements, his secrets, his vulnerabilities. One of these people wants me dead, he said. Tell me which one. I studied them the way I'd studied diners for 8 years, not just faces, but tells. The micro-expressions wealthy people thought they hid. Jin brought up financial records, security logs, surveillance footage from the past 6 months. I watched Maxwell's empire play out in digital fragments. There, I pointed to a sharp-featured man in his 40s, all expensive suits and calculated charm. Victor Chen, you're second in command. Maxwell's expression hardened. Victor's been with me for 12 years. He's loyal. He's wearing a Patek Philippe Nautilus in this photo from last week. That's a $250,000 watch. 3 months ago, he wore a Tag Heuer. Nice, but 30 times cheaper. I pulled up more images. His mistress moved from a studio in Wicker Park to a penthouse in Gold Coast. That's a $15,000 monthly jump. And look, I tapped the security logs. He was conveniently absent during 4 of your 5 key briefings in February. The 5th one? The Velvet Crown reservation. He was there. Maxwell leaned forward, something dangerous crystallizing in his eyes. He knows about this safe house. The words were barely out when Jin's laptop screamed an alert. Boss, motion sensors, roof access. We've got. The red laser dot appeared on my chest like a tiny sun. Maxwell moved faster than thought, tackling me sideways as the window exploded into 1,000 glittering teeth. The bullet punched through where my heart had been, embedding in the concrete wall with a sick thud. Tunnel. Now. Maxwell dragged me toward what looked like a solid wall. Jin slammed his palm against a hidden panel and the concrete split open, revealing a narrow passage lit by emergency strips. More gunfire chewed through the safe house, suppressed shots, professional, methodical. We ran through darkness, our footsteps echoing off cement walls. The tunnel branched like veins through Chicago's underground, paths that shouldn't exist connecting buildings that had no business touching. How did they find us? I gasped. Victor. Maxwell's voice was pure venom. He's been feeding them everything. Every move, every location. He's always one step ahead because he knows where we're going before we do. We burst out through a maintenance door into a parking garage 3 blocks away. Jin had another vehicle waiting, always prepared, always paranoid. As we peeled out into night traffic, I looked back at the building we'd just fled. Top floor windows strobed with muzzle flashes. He knew, I whispered. The second you suspected him, he knew. Maxwell's knuckles were white on the dashboard. Because he's still listening, still watching. We can't trust any of my resources, any of my safe houses. He's compromised everything. Then where do we go? His smile was terrible. Somewhere Victor Chen doesn't know exists. Somewhere even I forgot about. He looked at me, and I saw the predator finally unleashed. And then we hunt him. Before he finishes what Isabella started. This story is getting insane. If you're not subscribed yet, hit that button now. You don't want to miss how this ends. Like if you're Team Cynthia. The converted church in Pilsen smelled like dust and forgotten prayers. Maxwell's forgotten safe house was exactly that. A crumbling sanctuary in a neighborhood he'd abandoned years ago, purchased through shell companies so layered even Victor shouldn't be able to trace them. Stone walls 3 feet thick. One entrance. No windows on the ground floor. We'd been there 53 minutes when I heard the vehicles outside. Impossible, Maxwell breathed, but his hand was already reaching for his weapon. Through the cracked stained glass high above, I saw shadows moving, too many, too organized, surrounding the building like they'd done this 1,000 times before. Maxwell turned on me with such sudden violence I stumbled backward. His hand locked around my throat, slamming me against the altar hard enough to crack wood. How are they finding us? I can't. Every location, every safe house, they're tracking us like we have a beacon. His grip tightened and I saw something break behind his eyes, paranoia, fury, the absolute terror of a man who'd lost control. It's you. You're the leak. This whole thing was a setup from the beginning. I clawed at his hands, gasping. I saved your life. Or you played me. Warned me to gain my trust, get close, feed them everything. Boss. Jin's shout cut through Maxwell's rage. I found it. Maxwell's grip loosened fractionally. Jin held up his laptop, face grim. GPS tracker. Active signal. But it's not on us. He looked at me with something almost like pity. It's on her father. The words didn't make sense. What? Daniel Brooks. Northwestern Memorial, room 412. He's wearing a medical device with an embedded GPS tracker. Jin pulled up the signal map, a blinking red dot at the hospital, and a trail leading directly to our location. 2 weeks ago, Victor arranged a routine upgrade to his insulin pump through the charity foundation. Standard procedure, except the device has a tracker. The air left my lungs. My father. They've been using my father. Maxwell released me, horror and calculation warring across his face. Outside, the tactical teams were moving into position. We had minutes, maybe less. They knew you'd check on him, Jin continued. Knew you'd visit, call, worry. Every time you got close to the hospital, they got our general location. And when we fled tonight, you checked your phone. Pulled up his medical records to make sure he was okay. I had. In the car, terrified he'd been caught in the crossfire somehow. I'd accessed his hospital portal for 30 seconds. That's all they needed. We have to get him out, I said. They'll kill him. Use him as leverage. No. Maxwell's voice was ice. If we move him, we lose our advantage. Victor thinks we don't know about the tracker. That's the only card we have left. He's my father. And he's bait. Maxwell grabbed my shoulders, forcing me to look at him. You think Victor won't kill him anyway? The second we're dead, your father becomes a liability. A witness. Victor's been planning this for months. He's not leaving loose ends. The church door shuddered under the first breaching charge. We let the tracker run, Maxwell continued, already moving toward a hidden passage behind the altar. We let them think they're hunting us. And we use it to hunt them back. It's the only way to keep him alive. You're asking me to use my father as bait. I'm asking you to trust me the way you did when you wrote that note. His eyes locked onto mine, desperate and deadly. I will keep him alive, Cynthia. But first we have to survive the next 10 minutes. The door exploded inward. Flashbangs detonated in white-hot fury. Jin returned fire as Maxwell dragged me into darkness. Another tunnel, another escape, another temporary survival. But my father's tracker kept blinking. Kept betraying us. Kept drawing Victor closer with every heartbeat. And somewhere in that hospital, Daniel Brooks slept peacefully, never knowing his daughter's love had become a weapon pointed at her heart. We made it to Jin's fourth backup location, a storage unit in Gary, Indiana, so far off Victor's radar it might as well have been another planet. Maxwell paced like a caged predator while Jin monitored the tracker signal, watching my father's blinking dot at Northwestern Memorial. There's something else you need to know, Maxwell said finally, his voice carrying that particular edge that meant the truth would cost me. About your father's medical debt. My stomach dropped. What about it? After tonight's attack, I had Jin dig deeper into the hospital's records. The original debt from 2017, the construction accident, that was forgiven. But your father's been sick again. Kidney failure. Dialysis 3 times a week. Experimental treatments not covered by insurance. Maxwell pulled up documents on Jin's laptop. Current debt, $340,000. The number hit me like a physical blow. That's impossible. He said the charity foundation was covering. It was. Until 3 days ago. Maxwell's eyes met mine. I purchased the debt from the hospital. All of it. Which means legally, technically, he paused, letting the weight settle. I own you both. The words hung in the stale air like a death sentence. Outside, trucks rumbled past on distant highways. Inside, my world collapsed into a single brutal truth. You bastard, I whispered. Yes. No apology. No softness. Just cold acknowledgement. Then something shifted in his expression, a crack in the armor. Or I protect you both. Your choice, Cynthia. That's not a choice. That's extortion. That's survival. He moved closer, and for the first time I saw exhaustion behind his eyes. Victor wants me dead. He'll use anything, anyone to make that happen. Your father's already bait whether we like it or not. But if you help me, really help me destroy Victor before he destroys us, I'll transfer that debt into a trust. Experimental treatments, round-the-clock care. He'll never worry about money again. And if I refuse? Maxwell's smile was sad and terrible. Then I release him from the hospital tomorrow, and Victor's people will have him within an hour. They'll torture him for information about you. Then they'll kill him, and make you watch. I wanted to hate him. Wanted to scream that he was no different from Victor, from Isabella, from every monster wearing expensive suits. But I'd seen him take bullets meant for me. Seen him authorize mercy payments for strangers. Seen the boy who'd saved my father hiding beneath the crime lord's mask. What do you need me to do? I asked quietly. Be brilliant. Be ruthless. Be everything you've been hiding under that waitress uniform. He extended his hand. Help me end Victor. Then we both get to live. I took his hand. His grip was warm, steady, binding. I'll help you, but not because you own me. Then why? Because you're right. This is the only way to save him. I held his gaze. And because somewhere under all this brutality, you're still the man who saved strangers without asking for anything in return. Something flickered across Maxwell's face, surprise, maybe respect. Don't romanticize me, Cynthia. I'm not a hero. Neither am I not anymore. I squeezed his hand once, sealing our bargain. But maybe we can be monsters who protect the people we love. His smile was genuine this time, dangerous and real. Now you're thinking like a survivor. The gun felt wrong in my hands, too heavy, too final, too real. But Jin was patient, adjusting my grip for the 7th time in the makeshift range beneath the storage facility. Breathe out. Squeeze, don't pull. His voice was methodical, the same tone he used for everything from murder to morning coffee. I fired. The target's center mass bloomed with a new hole, 3 inches from the last one. Getting closer. Better, Maxwell said from the shadows, always watching. Again. 3 weeks. That's how long it took to kill the waitress and birth something else. Someone else. Maxwell's people taught me to see lies in micro-expressions, the slight dilation of pupils during deception, the involuntary touching of the neck when someone felt threatened. They taught me the language of power, how to enter a room like I owned it, how to make men twice my size uncomfortable with nothing but eye contact and silence. They taught me that violence wasn't always loud. Sometimes it was just knowing exactly where to press to make someone stop breathing. Your problem, Maxwell told me during a late-night strategy session, is you still apologize for existing. Every movement, every word, you're asking permission to take up space. I've spent 8 years making myself invisible. And now you need to do the opposite. He stood, circling me like a predator assessing prey. When we take down Victor, you'll be in a room with men who've killed for less than bad eye contact. They need to see someone worth fearing. Not a waitress, a queen. The next morning, I cut my hair. 12 inches gone, leaving sharp angles that framed my face like a weapon. I traded my uniform for tailored suits, charcoal, midnight blue, all clean lines and hidden strength. When I looked in the mirror, I barely recognized myself. Good. The training intensified. Hand-to-hand combat with Jin that left me bruised and gasping. Memorizing Victor's entire network, names, faces, weaknesses. Learning to shoot moving targets, then shooting while moving myself. Maxwell pushed me past exhaustion into something else entirely. Transformation hurt, but so did being invisible. Late nights, we'd sit in the war room surrounded by photographs and documents, planning Victor's destruction piece by piece. The space between us grew charged, electric. Maxwell would lean over my shoulder to point at something, and I'd feel the heat of him, the coiled violence barely contained. Our fingers would brush over files and the air would thicken. You're different, he said one night, studying me over whiskey neither of us was really drinking. You made me different. No, I just revealed what was already there. He moved closer, dangerous and magnetic. The girl who wrote that note wasn't invisible. She was just waiting for a reason to be seen. And now? Now you're terrifying. His smile was dark approval. Victor's people won't see you coming. They'll look for the waitress. They'll find a strategist who thinks 3 moves ahead. A woman who understands that mercy is weakness. A partner who, he stopped, something vulnerable flickering across his face. Who what? Who scares me almost as much as she impresses me. The confession hung between us, raw and honest. I met his eyes without flinching, something the old Cynthia could never have done. You're not invisible anymore, Maxwell said quietly. Question is, can you handle being seen? I thought about the girl who'd served champagne and hidden behind politeness. Thought about the woman who now assembled weapons in the dark and planned executions over coffee. Thought about my father, safe because I'd become something he wouldn't recognize. I can handle it, I said. Can you handle what I'm becoming? Maxwell's laugh was low and appreciative. Cynthia, I'm counting on it. He raised his glass. I mirrored the gesture. We drank to transformation, to survival, to the dangerous thing growing between us that neither of us would name. Outside, Victor was still hunting. But inside, we were becoming something he couldn't predict. Predators who'd learned to hunt as a pack. The Drake Hotel glittered like a jewel box full of predators. Chicago's elite mingled beneath crystal chandeliers, politicians, crime bosses, socialites, all pretending the distinctions mattered. Valentine's Day, 1 year exactly since the Velvet Crown. Since I'd stopped being invisible. I descended the grand staircase in crimson silk that cost more than my old life, diamonds at my throat that were actually surveillance equipment. Across the ballroom, Jin wore Maxwell's signature tuxedo, his hair styled to match, playing decoy with casual brilliance. The real Maxwell moved through the crowd in security uniform, just another invisible guard. Full circle. Poetic, really. Cynthia Ann, darling. Isabella materialized from the crowd like a beautiful snake, her smile sharp enough to draw blood. She'd survived the Velvet Crown, disappeared into Victor's protection, and emerged more dangerous than before. What a surprise seeing you here. I heard you'd moved up in the world. Quote. Isabella. I kissed both her cheeks, European style, while sliding a tampered phone into her clutch. You look radiant. Love suits you. Oh, this old thing? She gestured to her white gown, bridal white, I realized. Victor and I are making things official tonight. Right after the charity auction. Her eyes glittered with malice. Such a shame Prince Maxwell won't be here to see it. I hear he's been indisposed. Tragedy, I murmured, watching Jin across the room, exactly where Maxwell should be. Victor's mercenaries had already marked him, laser sights invisible but inevitable. The auction began. Don Caruso's daughter, Francesca, stood near the stage, beautiful, young, completely unaware she was meant to die tonight. Victor's plan was elegant. Shoot her during the chaos, frame Maxwell for the murder, ignite a war between the Korean and Italian factions that would consume Chicago's underworld while he seized control. Except Maxwell had infiltrated Francesca's security detail 2 weeks ago. The girl on stage was Jin's cousin, wearing a bulletproof vest and carrying Maxwell's warning to her father. Victor made his move during the auction's climax. His mercenaries moved into position, weapons concealed in tuxedo jackets. Jin stayed perfectly still, playing his role. Then Maxwell triggered the revelation. Every screen in the ballroom, the auction display, the decorative monitors, even people's phones, flashed to life with evidence. Bank transfers from Victor to Isabella. Audio of them planning Maxwell's assassination. Video of Victor arranging the Velvet Crown massacre. The conspiracy laid bare before Chicago's power elite. No, Victor's scream cut through shocked silence. Then the ballroom exploded. Maxwell's loyalists emerged from their positions, and Victor's mercenaries found themselves outnumbered, outgunned, exposed. Gunfire erupted in controlled bursts, not chaos, but surgical elimination. Victor tried to run, but Maxwell stepped into his path, shedding the security uniform to reveal the man Victor had tried so hard to kill. Hello, old friend, Maxwell said, and put 2 bullets in Victor's chest. I didn't watch Victor fall. I was already moving toward Isabella, who'd gone pale as her phone revealed its true purpose, a tracker, a recorder, evidence of everything she'd said tonight. She ran for the coat check room. Of course she did. I followed, my heels clicking against marble like a countdown. Found her rifling through coats, searching for an escape route that didn't exist. She spun when she heard me, pulling a small pistol from her clutch. You little bitch, she hissed. You destroyed everything. No. I moved closer, unafraid. The invisible waitress would have cowered. The woman I'd become just smiled. I saved everything. My father, Maxwell, myself. I gestured to the ballroom where sirens already wailed. You and Victor forgot the first rule of this world. What rule? Never underestimate the people you don't see. Isabella fired. The bullet sparked off the steel door behind me, her hand shaking, her aim compromised by panic. I didn't flinch. Jin appeared in the doorway, weapon raised. Your call, Cynthia. Isabella looked between us, finally understanding. Please, I'll disappear. You'll never see me again. You're right, I said. I won't. Jin's shot was clean, professional, merciful, even. Isabella Reyes crumpled among the expensive coats, her white gown blooming red. Poetic justice in the same place where this all began. I stepped over her body without looking back. In the ballroom, Maxwell stood among the wreckage of Victor's empire, untouchable and victorious. When he saw me, his smile was pure pride. Still think invisibility was safer? He asked. I took his hand, queen beside her king. Safer? Maybe, but I was never really alive. If this story gave you chills, drop a comment telling me your favorite moment. And subscribe because I've got more intense stories coming that you do not want to miss. Spring came to Chicago like a coronation. 3 months since the Drake Hotel, since Victor's blood-stained marble floors, since I stopped being invisible forever. I stood in my father's hospital room at Northwestern Memorial, watching him laugh at some joke the physical therapist made. The experimental kidney treatment was working, his color had returned, his strength rebuilding day by day. He thought Maxwell's charity foundation was just generous. He had no idea his daughter had become the architect behind Chicago's most sophisticated criminal empire. You look different, sweetheart, Dad said when the therapist left. Happy, like you finally found your place. I did, I said, kissing his forehead. The lie tasted like survival. That evening, I stood beside Maxwell at another charity gala, this one at the Art Institute, where old money and new power pretended they weren't the same thing. The Caruso family had retreated to New York, their humiliation complete. Victor was dead. Isabella had vanished into witness protection, though Maxwell's people were still hunting. I wore crimson silk that echoed Isabella's gown from that first Valentine's night, but sharper, deadlier, mine. My hair was styled in severe elegance. Diamonds glittered at my throat, real ones now, not surveillance equipment. You've transformed everything, said Councilman Richards, one of Maxwell's newly acquired political allies. The community centers, the business investments, it's remarkable. That's all Cynthia, Maxwell said, his hand finding the small of my back. Possessive, proud, she sees opportunities I miss. What I really saw were the layers beneath layers. The legitimate businesses hiding money laundering. The charity foundations concealing influence operations. The political donations that purchased immunity. Maxwell had restructured his empire with me as the architect, transforming from crime boss to untouchable power broker. We'd become exactly what we needed to survive. Later, on the terrace overlooking Michigan Avenue, Maxwell handed me champagne. The city sprawled below us like a kingdom we'd conquered together. Any regrets? He asked. I thought about the invisible waitress who'd written a warning on a receipt. Thought about the woman who'd learned to shoot, to strategize, to meet dangerous men's eyes without flinching. Thought about my father, safe and thriving, never knowing the price his daughter paid. None, I said. You? Just one. Maxwell turned to face me, something vulnerable breaking through his armor. I regret not seeing you sooner. All those years, you were right there, and I looked through you like everyone else. I wanted to be invisible then. I needed it, and now? I smiled, feeling the weight of power, of visibility, of everything I'd become. Now I want them to see me coming. Want them to know my name means consequences. I raised my champagne to the city below. Want them to understand that the invisible girl they overlooked became the queen who'll destroy them. Maxwell's laugh was dark and delighted. He pulled me close, his lips against my ear. God, I love what you've become. A monster? My monster. He kissed me then, claiming and celebrating in equal measure. My brilliant, terrifying partner. Below us, Chicago glittered with possibility and threat. Somewhere, enemies were planning. Somewhere, new wars were brewing. But up here, we were untouchable. I'd traded invisibility for power. Safety for survival. The girl I was for the woman I needed to become. And I'd do it all again without hesitation. Because Prince Maxwell was right that first night, protection always has a price. But what he didn't know then, what he understood now, was that I'd stopped being the one who needed protection. I'd become the danger everyone else should fear.